Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Full Circle Network. I'm editor-in-chief of FullCircleCinema.com, Jackson Hayes, and today we are here to discuss episode 7 of Peacemaker, and I'll be joined by my lead news editor, Christian Hubbard.
What's going on, everybody? This is Christian here for another great episode of the Full Circle podcast about Peacemaker.
Unfortunately, Ernesto was not able to make it today, so I'm going to be hosting in his stead, and I will attempt to do the best job possible. As Christian knows, he takes very extensive notes that I did not have the time to take earlier today, but we'll make it work as best we can.
Hard to replace Ernesto, but we'll make do.
Incredibly hard. We'll do what we got to do. So yeah, this was a major episode, Christian. I mean, this was we had so much happen. I mean, in the aftermath of the cliffhanger from episode 6. I guess let's start there, right? With that massive reveal, and this episode immediately kicks off with Peacemaker having kind of a moment. He was a little down on himself. He's definitely feeling it, and the flashback to the circumstances of his brother's death. So I mean, I'll give you the floor on that and how, what that scene did for you at the beginning of the episode.
It's weird, right? Like we had the little girl ask Peacemaker Christopher Smith about his origin story, and we kind of got little tidbits here and there. And then we've also got like things with him and his dad throughout the last 6 episodes so far. But this is like the real first concrete information, like visuals that we see about what happens. Like it's clear that Peacemaker's trauma runs deep to his childhood. Like this, it's like what, like a white supremacist, like almost like chicken fighting.
I mean, right? Yeah, they're like in in the trailer park with all these scummy people betting on kids fighting.
They're like throwing money at the kids, and it turns out like one blow lands, and boom, Chris Smith is the cause of his older brother's death. But it's like before that, they also show how him and his brother were bonding, right? They clearly shared a room together, right?
Mm-hmm.
He showed him the hand symbol, and he's like, "Is that white power?" And his brother was like, "No, F white power." Like there's a bond there, right? So it's kind of traumatizing for poor young Chris Smith, right? Which kind of sets the path for him to become an adult. This crazy adult that we see now on screen.
I think that's what Gunn makes abundantly clear here, and I also want to give a shout out to the director of this episode, Brad Anderson. It was written by James Gunn. I want to make sure I follow in Ernesto's footsteps there. That Gunn makes it very clear in this scene that his brother Keith was the guiding light in Chris's life. He was the one person there who didn't care what his father said, who didn't care about any of that, and wanted him and him and his brother to just be kids and to just live a life they wanted to live. And when that punch blows, that light went out. It was gone. And
It's
he
almost
was
instantaneous, right? I don't know the little kid's name that's playing young Chris Smith, but like what a dream casting that was must have been for him, and he plays it so perfectly.
I mean, it just turn on a dime. He thinks it's a joke. He thinks he's just doing the worm. It's all funny and games and stuff. But obviously, that's not the case. His brother is dead, and I mean, it clearly still haunts him to this day. Because I mean, what a traumatic event to go through. And this comes back to him in the very moment that he is framed for the events of all of the deaths that have happened here in Evergreen so far in the series and everything else that's been going on. That Waller set him up to. And then, we have this moment between him and Vigilante. He immediately turns from, I'm emotionally damaged, I'm hurt, to, we have a mission to do, we got to get this done. And Vigilante's also in that same path because, that's just who he is. He's ready to go, he's ready to fight. And they get Economos to come along. They have this whole powwow about how they're going to go kill a cow, which, is he's clearly suppressing his issues, right? I mean, which is he's been doing for the majority of the series. And obviously we'll get back to that. But then we're going to have to jump to we cut to Adebayo in her hotel room, and she's watching the same broadcast that Peacemaker was watching, where Locke, who's now a butterfly, reveals that the diary and that they're framing Peacemaker for the entire thing. And she's obviously very upset because she didn't want to do it. Her and Chris had a bond, no matter how how bad of a person he is and what the horrible things that he says. They have a bond, and she felt like she betrayed him, but she also felt like she had no choice. And then as soon as she's coming to the realization of these feelings, who busts through the door but Harcourt, who's very upset because she also has struck up this connection with Peacemaker in recent weeks. So now she feels betrayed. So give me your rundown of that scene, Christian. I mean, what I mean, emotions boiling over, like you said, like people upset, like everyone did what they thought was right, but I mean, no one's ever gonna win.
I think it's a testament to Gunn's way of like framing and shaping characters. What stuck out to me is that Adebayo reveals to Harcourt that Amanda Waller is her mother, obviously. And when I was watching the scene, I thought, I'm like, wow, we really do. We know a lot about Adebayo. We know that she's a lesbian, and we know that she is from Gotham. We know that she's Amanda Waller's daughter. We know that she just lost her job and she took this job just to make ends meet for her wife. And they're planning on having a kid in the future. But we don't know a lot about Harcourt. And I think this is as close as we got to seeing her kind of let her guard down a little bit, right? Like she was intense. She was ready to like fight for the team, this team that she had hated in the first couple of episodes, right? Like this is like the most vulnerable we've seen this character get. And it was because of the tensions boiling over because she knew that Adebayo had betrayed this guy who a couple of episodes she was calling a murderer and a loser and one wanted nothing to do with. So while we don't know a lot about Harcourt at this, about her background, about what her motivations are, why she took this line of work to begin with, we do see that she has this sort of like underlying loyalty, right? And even though it is to this guy who a couple episodes ago she wanted nothing to do with, like that, I think that loyalty kind of shined through in this moment. And testament to Jennifer Holland as well. Like her performances has been understated, underrated. We're talking a lot about Cena, a lot about Gunn, but we're not talking a lot about how she's kind of been shining in this role.
I completely agree with everything you said, and unfortunately, this wonderful moment between the two characters, and they both have it out, and they both finally get to explain like why they do what they do, why they feel what they feel, and it's everything's kind of on the table finally after all these episodes. And Murn busts in the door, tells him to cut the crap, excuse me, and says, they're coming, they know where we are. Locke was our inside man. He's going to come get us, and they have no time. They have no time to keep arguing and all that stuff. So they get out. We get a small little clip with Judo Master. Excuse me. With Judo Master, where he's outside the convenience store eating some Cheetos, and obviously, people come and make fun of him. A couple of teenage shitheads come and call him a leprechaun. He's obviously gets the better of them later. But so that was that little intercut. But then we get to the real stuff, and as Vigilante, Peacemaker, and Economos are on their way to the cow, who stops them but the White Dragon. And before we get into the actual details of the scene, Christian, I don't know about you, but I was completely shocked when we got to see what the White Dragon suit actually got to do.
Yeah, that was pretty badass. I want to go back real quick because when Murn busts in, he makes it known that he knew the whole time that Adebayo was
Oh, right, good
his
point.
daughter,
Yes.
right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I stuck out in my notes. Like, oh, he knew. I'm not sure if this is a memory from the actual guy Murn. I don't know if this is the butterfly Murn, but somehow this guy is always in control of the narrative, right? So I thought that was a nice character moment as well. Like he's leading this team. Of course, he knows that she's Amanda Waller's daughter. Going to the judo master scene at the convenience store. This guy loves the snacks. So it's and to see him like kind of being picked on for his small stature. I know the actor has tweeted a couple of things about how he's glad there's representation for people of his size being this badass character who's able to take down bullies of this sort. I thought that was kind of empowering as well. But oh my god, the White Dragon is a problem. And I know we were all thinking the same thing when that episode 6 ended. He's got these Christopher Smith, Peacemaker, the whole team. They've got the butterflies to deal with. They've got the White Dragon and his white supremacist gang to deal with. So what I appreciated was that it seemed like the focus was solely on the butterflies, but White Dragon was kind of like, nope. I'm taking control of this episode. And it was refreshing to see that they didn't have to kind of deal with both at the exact same time. Cause like, how does this little ragtag group of kind of like B-list agents and superheroes, how do they deal with both of these threats at once? So it was kind of neat to see the White Dragon take control of this and put the sole focus on him for the moment, because he is a bona fide threat, right? Like, don't you think like they could have not done the whole butterfly narrative, I think, and White Dragon could have still served as a kind of like an all overpowerful supervillain, right? Am I wrong in
Oh
thinking?
no, absolutely. I mean, Robert Patrick is killing it in this role. he's terrifying for many reasons. He definitely plays a racist really well, and take from that what you will. Um, I'm sure he's a very lovely guy, but it's one of those things where I was also terrified going into the last two episodes that, oh no, is as soon as they start dealing with one problem, is the other problem going to show up? As soon as they start taking on these white supremacists, or as soon as they take on the butterflies, one of the other group shows up and causes them all sorts of trouble. I am glad they took the route where they're on their way to deal with one, and the other one just kind of appears, because it's true. We Chris and the team didn't know Auggie was in the background formulating this ragtag group of awful people to come fight his son and kill him potentially. So I'm glad that we got this kind of payoff, and I mean, it happens all of a sudden. Very very quick. I mean, it's a great fight. I mean, Chris is obviously shocked to see his father. I want to get into Vigilante's reaction to what happens though, because man, does he turn into a badass something quick, and has this incredible moment. And I know this moment definitely stuck out to you because we talked about it briefly when we were just discussing the series a few weeks back. So give me your thoughts on that Vigilante moment.
Vigilante steps up as the hero of his story in this moment. Finally, like, you can tell over the last couple episodes, the way that he's played out, like, he thinks he's a superhero. He thinks he's a member of the Justice League, or he should be, at least. So he finally gets that moment to stand up for his friend, to this guy who's treated his friend so poorly, and it's taken away from him. It's the explosion scared the absolute crap out of me, because I thought, oh my God, he's gone. We're never gonna see Vigilante again. He's dead. James Gunn did it. He killed him off. So that was a heartbreaking, heart-wrenching moment. I had to pause it. I had to take a breather. I had to grab a beer. I had to relax a little bit, because I was like, oh my God. But what's refreshing about it is that if that was Vigilante's end, what a graceful end it would have been, right? He may be a psychopath. He may be a little off. He may be on the spectrum a little bit, but he stands true to his word. He takes out the bad folks. He stands up for what he believes in, regardless of if you agree with him or not. Vigilante got his moment in this episode.
And thank God it's revealed only moments later that he's not dead. He's a little badly wounded. But I mean, how better to go out than taking out a bunch of racists who he'd already knocked heads with, a few episodes back in that great scene that he had. And he does it here again. He immediately pulls that gun out and starts shooting at him, and shooting at White Dragon, and then pulls the grenade like no problem. He's not going to stand for it. No matter how, he's obviously a little, screw loose, and his morals aren't all the way there, but his compass in terms of good and bad seems to be pointing in the right direction in that moment, and he goes about it the right way.
The man can't stand a racist at all. I do want to talk about the dynamic between. This is the first time that we saw Cena, Vigilante, and Economos kind of separated from the rest of the pack. Which, when I think of the 11th Street Kids, like, I think of those three, because that's who's in the picture, right? So seeing these guys who are sort of, Economos has been the butt of a lot of the jokes. Vigilante's been butt of a lot of the jokes off screen, like in his upbringing with Christopher Smith. Like, seeing those three together, like, that was such a power group for me, and it was on full display. What'd you think of those three together?
Oh, they were having such a good time. Economos was a little apprehensive at first because he doesn't understand how they're so calm, but Peacemaker and Vigilante is what they do. They deal with stuff like, obviously Peacemaker's hurt and he's dealing with stuff, but the mission's still a go. The mission's still at hand. They're going to finish it no matter what. So, even when he gets shocked, even when Peacemaker gets shocked that his dad shows up and that fight ensues, it's still one of those things where they're ready to go at a moment's notice. And Economos isn't exactly as ready, but clearly, and we'll get to it later, like he also has an opportunity to step up and be a guy who is somebody to lean on. And this is going to be 2 episodes in a row he does that when once we discuss that portion.
Yeah, so casting Steve Agee, who in the previous episodes I have only known him as the Outside Dave in New Girl. Like, he could have easily been the guy in the chair, kind of niche character, right, from Spider-Man, like the chubby sidekick. But no, he really gets moments to be a badass, which is, again, another testament to James Gunn fully fleshing out all of these characters. Like, Steve Agee is shining as an action hero, and who would have cast someone who looks like Steve Agee as like this badass action hero?
Only James Gunn can, and I think only James Gunn can, and I think that this cuts to the next scene very well, which is the second Judo Master moment we get of the episode, in which the guys come back out of the convenience store, and he wails on him absolutely wails on him. Absolutely deserved. But I think the moment I want to talk about is the is how the clerk reacts when he sees him after he beats the crap out of him. I have no idea whether that clerk knew those guys before they came in, but he could, the douche meter was definitely going off when they showed up. And I just thought it was real good that the guy didn't care that Judo Master beat the crap out of him right outside the store and took their car. Um, it was just one of those things, one of those James Gunn moments that really, really got me good.
Yeah, gave him the thumbs up. He doesn't know he may not know the. I'm sure he's dealt with the again, like you said, the douchebag meter, the douchebag guys, but that thumbs up to this mysterious masked short judo ninja guy, like that was such a James Gunn moment. So hilarious. I'm pretty sure I took screen caps of it. I'm pretty sure I have screen caps of it somewhere that most likely make it to my Twitter.
Oh, I can't wait to see those gifs. And then we jump to back to the hotel where Harcourt and Adebayo are preparing to run, and we get a little bit of Murn's perspective as the butterflies show up, and this takes a turn here, and it's an unfortunate one, but this is I think it's a great moment. The butterflies show up, the cops show up to bust down the door, and Murn has this sacrificial moment where he gives Adebayo and Harcourt this little mini pep talk about how they can do it because he knows this is the end for him. And he goes out in a blaze of glory. So what do you think? What do you think about that?
I think I tweeted it within the first 3 episodes. I'm like, it's all about the found family, and even before seeing the rest of the series, like I knew like Murn cares about everyone on this team. The butterfly Murn, not maybe not the human Murn, but and like Cena cares about everyone on this team. He just wants to feel as if he's a part of it. Um, um, Harcourt cares about Chris, about Economos. They all have formed this sort of bond together. So seeing Murn in this stage of his life, this butterfly who's trying to save the world from his own people, who has chosen peace over this weird triumph or this weird conquering that his alien race wants to do to Earth, and him getting that final moment with Adebayo and Harcourt was really moving, honestly. And again, I don't want to butcher the actor's name, but the actor once again proves why he got this role, why Gunn put him in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Like he acts his ass off in that scene, and it was a fitting goodbye for this character who we didn't know much about, and it was a pleasure to get to know Murn over the last couple of episodes. He's going to be missed if there is a second season. He's definitely going to be missed in the season finale. If Murn had to go out like that, again, just like the way I felt with Vigilante, if Murn had to go out like that final beat of inspiration to these two gals who he genuinely cares about, then it was moving, it was powerful, and it kind of sets the scene for it gives them who's going to lead us next. And it gives us that kind of like Agent Coulson scene in the Avengers in 2012. Like, okay, this, if nothing else brings the team together, Murn sacrificing himself so they can get away brings the team together. Am I right?
Oh, I agree with you completely on that, on all of that. It was a beautiful moment, and Harcourt getting emotional again, like finally letting, like, she's in the last few episodes, she's let more loose every single episode of just for emotions, and this one she finally just lets it go and is like, it's clear how much she cared about Murn, even though he's a butterfly, even though all these different things, like it's just a job or whatever, but these people mean something to her, and she takes that moment. And I do want to say, Ernesto texted me, and he did a lot of due diligence this week, and he found the correct pronunciation for the actor's name, and I'm going to do my best here to give credit for the guy finally after 7 episodes. So Chukwudi Iwuji, Chukwudi Iwuji. Hopefully I'm not butchering that horribly, but that he sent me the phonetic pronunciation. So I hope that was a shout out,
I don't know who
Ernesto.
he's playing in Guardians of the Galaxy. In my mind, he screams Silver Surfer to me.
He has that very the regal, like the serious vibe. I'm not sure I've seen him in anything before this. I can't remember at least. But this guy put on a clinic out of nowhere in this show, and I'm glad Gunn's bringing him along.
Because I would have been like, where? Okay, just like I am with like someone like Corey Hawkins after seeing the tragedy of Macbeth and In the Heights. Like, okay, what happens next for this guy? Like, it's so refreshing to see James Gunn having the same thought process that I have. Like, okay, he needs to be in a bigger movie immediately. We need to have him on every screen possible because, yeah, this actor is phenomenal in this role.
That's a great Corey Hawkins pull. I was straight out of Compton. I was like, damn, that guy is something else. So good, love that guy. Then we jump back. This moment lingers a little longer because who shows up but one judo master, and he shows up and starts kicking the crap out of Harcourt and Adebayo. But I want to say Harcourt held her own. She kind of let it out here, and they both women just decided to like let out their frustration on this guy, whether it was right or wrong. I mean, obviously he's doing what he feels is right. They're doing what they feel are right, but they were tired of the crap. And so they wanted to take this guy out. And I want to say it was really good choreography for this fight between the two of them. And then Adebayo getting that moment at the end. So what did you think about the fight?
We still don't know much about Judo Master, right?
Not at all. Not at all.
He had almost started to say this is bigger than you, like you don't understand the butterflies before he got shot. And then he went to go get himself a bag of chips, and he's still seeking out this group. Like we don't know much about him at all, but the Harcourt Judo Master fight was so badass, and when Judo Master gets kind of like the upper hand on her and is punching her, and did you catch the little smile?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Very Goblin-esque from No Way Home. Like that was beautiful. Like she's enjoying it. This is kind of fueling her. I'm not sure if she knew Adebayo was gonna jump in or if she knew she had the upper hand on Judo Master, but God, what the framing on that shot was just beautiful. And Jennifer Holland acted her ass off in that fight scene, fight choreography. I'd love just like a making of series just to see how many of their own stunts they did, because it was so fluid. Like I could never catch if there was a stunt double, if these were the actors. Like when the cuts happened, it was such a beautifully done fight. And again, like what is Judo Master after overall? Like what is his goal here? Why is he hunting down these people? What is he doing this for?
Mm-hmm. And having just rewatched that moment, I do want to say from what I can tell, it appears what Harcourt is doing is more psychological than anything with the smirk. I don't know if she wants him to hesitate. Maybe she does know Adebayo has the taser already or what, but like she definitely got in his head for a moment, and that was enough to have Adebayo run in and take him out with a taser. So, I mean, she plays those little games. She loves those little games. She's a badass.
And again, we don't know much about her, right? She was in
not at
the
all.
Suicide Squad, clearly working for Waller, clearly has some sort of connection to the organization that Waller runs. She's got extensive training. We don't know what war she's been in. We don't know who she's interacted with in the DC litany of superheroes and villains. Like, so that I think that was that might have been a nod from the filmmakers, from Gunn, saying, okay, Harcourt knows her stuff. If you see her again, she's legitimate in the future. Like if she shows up in some random movie or a future TV series, like take her seriously, because she can take a punch.
Right, and so we go from there and we jump to the forest. So after the White Dragon shows up and takes out the car, they start, Peacemaker and Economos take off into the forest because they seemingly believing that Vigilante had died. Obviously he did, and he got in that car and got away. But, they're still tracking, the supremacists are tracking Peacemaker using his helmet. And he doesn't realize it until a little bit into, after running into the forest with Economos. And they pull a little trickaroo, put it on a raccoon. And what a great bit where Economos turns to him and he's like, that's the kind of reaction I would think would happen when a grown man picks up a wild raccoon. And he just cuts to Cena with his face all cut up, all messed up from having to pick up a raccoon and tie a helmet to it. So what did you think about that bit? And then we'll get into the rest of the scene after that.
Went straight to Rocket Raccoon. Like James Gunn putting these little breadcrumbs for us longtime fans to appreciate. Like, of course, his DC character gets into a fight with a raccoon of all creatures. Like that was hilarious to me. I in my notes I wrote down, damn, this raccoon is hardcore. I don't have much experience with raccoons, but he kind of jacked Peacemaker up, and Cena isn't a small guy. It's like him versus a raccoon. This is a formidable raccoon. And again, I'm not sure what the inspiration was, but after the end of episode 6, like another scene, sort of fight chase scene set in a forest. You wonder what the implications are there. Like we had the forest where the Cena and Vigilante are running through to get away from the police. We have this one where Economos and Cena are running to get away from the white supremacists. Like, what's the correlation between the forests there, I wonder?
I'm not sure, but the scenery is sure beautiful. I mean, the way these are shot are really well done, especially the running through the scene last week. Excuse me, and this one, equally as good as the white supremacists are wandering through the forest looking for Peacemaker. And then they stumble upon that raccoon. And I mean, what a great bit. I mean, just them cornering this raccoon in the middle of the forest. And then obviously, yeah, go ahead.
One has to wonder, like, is it just because they filmed this during the pandemic? Like,
Entirely possible. Entirely possible. I mean, it's one of those things where maybe it's better than a warehouse or some type of other enclosed area. I mean, obviously, you need places to hide. At least in this scenario, right? They needed places to evade and hide. Maybe just the shooting location. That's what was given to them. But I mean, I'm not gonna complain. It looks really good. It looks really good.
it was a solid bit. I honestly, I wish we would have gotten some other like random woodland creatures to interact to interact with Eagly a little.
Or a squirrel, a whole team of little woodland guys to fight off the supremacists. Yeah. Speaking of Peacemaker, he runs off with Economos. They find Vigilante passed out in a car because he wasn't able to get away because obviously he took some shrapnel to the chest. He realizes that Vigilante kept all the other helmets, and in another great bit, he just goes, "Well, I thought they were expensive, so I put them in the car." But Chris goes to take him out and tosses him into the field, and then of course who shows up? The entire large group of white supremacists, and they begin to jump him. And then we cut to Economos crawling into the forest with Vigilante peeing, and Vigilante's entire pants are down, and he has the great line about how he doesn't like peeing with something touching his butt. So just another great Vigilante moment.
Just overall, this character is so goofy, and thinking back, like, who else could play this but with someone with such a dry like wit as John Cena? Like, who else could pull that line off and you'd find it as hilarious? It's not awkward, it's not quirky. Like, that is just such a perfect delivery with that line. I don't like things touching my butt.
Yeah, I mean, it's this whole thing. I mean, it's perfectly cast, and I mean, Vigilante in particular. It's like how they shot all those scenes with that other guy, with the other actor. I'm blanking on his name, and obviously they had some creative differences over where the character was going. But I couldn't imagine anybody with Freddie Stroma doing this stuff. I mean, it's the humor, but then we finally get this this confrontation between Chris and his father, and as the supremacists are beating on Chris, Eagly takes a couple of them out and then goes after Agee, and Agee just smacks the crap out of Eagly, and obviously immediately you're like, God, please no, like, don't do this to Eagly, like, don't, like, you can't do this. And then and Chris obviously has the same reaction, goes right after his father. So what do you think about this emotional moment?
First Vigilante, now Eagly. Like, they were just playing with my emotions this entire episode, and while watching it, I didn't know that there was an episode 8, right? So I thought this was the finale.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Gunn loves his gut punches, so I was like, okay, Vigilante's okay, he seems to be okay, they're gonna kill the damn eagle. I was so like heart, and of course it would be Smith's dad to do it, but I also thought, and I also noted that, okay, this is the turning point. He's always trying to see the bright side with his dad. He knows his dad's a piece of crap, but he also loves his dad because that's the only dad he's ever going to have. But if Auggie kills Eagly, that's it. That's done for. Cena's going to choke him out in this road right here if Eagly isn't alive right here. So I appreciated I was kind of bummed out thinking that Eagly was down for the count, but I appreciated the sacrifice because it was finally going to be that turning point where Christopher Smith could rid this toxic father away from his life. I want to talk about the fight, right, between Agee and Cena. There's a line where Agee is, I've always been disappointed in you. I know, because you slept with women of color, you've slept with men, like, and this whole watching every episode, I was like, okay, is Christopher Smith, is he bi? And I think that, and his dad constantly using the F slur, like, I think this was the shining moment. Like, even before he went to jail, Christopher Smith might have experimented with men, which set his father off. So those little details right there, when he's throwing those lines out to him during the fight, was like, okay, All right, there's a lot more to Christopher Smith, and even with the piano at the end of episode 6, there's a lot more than meets the eye to this guy. He's not just a crazy murderer. He's very artistic. He's very open. He's nothing like his dad at all.
And I think he also Chris does has this epiphany during this fight. Well, as his dad is throwing these slurs at him, saying these horrible things to him, he talks about how Peacemaker killed his brother, but in reality, Chris turns it on him and tells him like, no, that was your fault. You made us do that. You put that on us. And he's finally like coming to this fact that his father's an awful man, and no matter how much he loves him, like he's not getting that in return, and it's not fair of him to just sit there and suffer. Um, while his dad's not suffering at all, even a little bit. He took the littlest amount of suffering going to jail for him for whatever it was, a few weeks, whatever happened, and he could not stop complaining about it, so much so he wanted to come out and kill his own son. So
Chris is just living with this guilt.
Right, with this horrible guilt that he put on him.
Guilt is another overarching theme, like Adebayo's guilt with the diary that we still haven't had a resolution for. Chris's guilt with his brother, and Chris's guilt with Rick Flag, that I know Ernesto's gonna love that I brought up again, because while it may not be in this episode, like I think the killing of Rick Flag and then Chris surviving the retaliation from Bloodsport was kind of like the catalyst that set him on his path right here. Like he did this in the name of peace and in the name of Waller, and he survived it all when he probably thought he was going to die. Like that's this guilt that all these characters feel is so deep, and like God, it's just such a beautiful story to be telling when this show is setting records for F-bombs dropped and the body count is ridiculous. Like, how are we feeling these emotions about such a ridiculous show?
And, those emotions continue because after, Vigilante shows up and saves Peacemaker, from his father jumping on his suit. And again, the throwback to the having the gaps in the armor, Vigilante called that out as soon as he saw the White Dragon suit in his house, and he immediately jumps right on him and tells him like, oh, you had those dumb chinks in the armor, you had that coming. So he had that, he attacked him, he hit him there, and then and then here comes Economos, right? They still have all the supremacists having the guns on them, and who shows up but Economos with the little with the gun and just mows them down. So good. 2 weeks, 2 out of the last 3 weeks, him having one of these just great moments.
That line, that John Economos mother, like that's so, like how cool is that Steve Agee is able to mow down a bunch of white supremacists right here in the middle of the street. And what a like, again, like how am I describing that as beautiful? But it's just the way it's shot, the way this character has grown in front of our eyes over the last couple of weeks. Like what a great character moment for him, because it justifies him. We don't really know much about Economos either, just like Harcourt. We don't know why he's working for Waller, why he's working in this section of the DC universe. But for him to get that moment, you could see in his face, like, yeah, I've been waiting for this, just like with the gorilla.
And I mean, all these characters just finally coming to terms with these things they've had to, and like stepping up when they have to, no matter what the situation calls for. They know what is on the line, and they refuse to allow it to screw with them in this. And then after that moment with Economos, Chris starts wailing on his father, telling him all about, all the horrible things that he did and how he made him feel. And then, I mean, listen, I don't know how you felt, but, Chris pulls a gun on his dad. And as soon as he does, he's obviously hesitating. And then his father starts saying some horrible things to him. I don't know about you. I thought immediately that I knew he was going to pull the trigger. I knew, Auggie could not help himself, could not stop, saying the horrible things that he thinks and says. And I thought that it as horrible as it may be to say, like that's what needed to be done in that moment. Like Chris doesn't want to kill anymore. He obviously he wants to put that away, but his father is one of the only people that'll probably have to break that rule for him, because he's the one that set him on this path and made him this horrible person. And while it's unfair and all this stuff, I mean it's heartbreaking. And then Chris breaks down, and I mean, in this horrible, situation, and I mean, finally just lets go of all of that pain.
I think that's again, I may have said it a couple of episodes ago on the podcast, but I think that's the moment right there that John Cena became not just like a professional wrestler who became an actor, but just flat out an actor. right? He breaks down, he's crying. He had to do this horrible thing to someone that his character truly loved, and you could see the pain on his face. Like, oh my God. And I feel I may feel differently because of my own past personal experiences, but his dad had to die. Dad had to go. Dad had to, dad had to, dad was a problem. Dad would have continued to be a problem. But surprisingly, what kind of stood out to me is that they're going through all these motions. They're fighting these white supremacists, and I don't think they know that Murn is gone yet, right?
Not at all. I don't
They
think
have
they
no
know.
clue. None of them do. So all this incredible character growth is happening. Cena is slowly becoming more like Vigilante, where he's killing those who deserve to be killed, regardless of his relationship with them. Economos is becoming this badass, and they still have no idea that the person who's supposed to be leading them is no longer with them.
And it's heartbreaking, you know, and they don't find out until and we'll get to this next moment here in a second when, I mean, in between we have another nice moment between Harcourt and Adebayo where they have this heart to heart about the situation that they're going through, and you know why they feel what they feel, and then Adebayo reveals that, you know, she ran a dog shelter before all of this stuff, and that, you know, that's all she did. You know, she wasn't some crazy secret agent who had all this training. She wasn't some cold-blooded killer. She just ran a dog shelter that lost funding, and she needed this money. And I think Harcourt takes that in and starts to understand where Adebayo is coming from in this situation. I mean, she doesn't. This is not for her,
especially now that she knows who Adebayo's mother is.
Right. I mean, it puts the whole thing in perspective. But I do think it was a really an enlightening moment where Harcourt tells Adebayo that she thinks like she's good at this, like despite her not wanting to do it, that she may be cut out for this line of work. And that obviously is going to cause problems at home, but you know, like she's more like her mother in the right way than she might think.
Right. I caught some parallels between, there's that scene in the Suicide Squad where Amanda Waller gives the same description for Peacemaker and for Bloodsport, the exact same one back to back. Like their fathers raised them to be killers. Like, okay, Adebayo has some experience. She was bragging about how she passed all these tests growing up, but it kind of humanizes Waller to the point where like she didn't force her daughter to become the monster that she very clearly is, right? Like I think that was important to note. I don't know if we'll see Viola Davis again in the finale, but it kind of was like okay, she wasn't as bad as Auggie, right? She wasn't as bad as whoever Bloodsport's father might be. She let her daughter make her own choice, and when her daughter was down and out, she gave her an opportunity to use some of those skills that Waller might have peppered in throughout her daughter's childhood. But yeah, I thought that was a great moment for Adebayo, and another one that I'm sure we'll get to in a couple of minutes here. But it's clear that when Gunn was writing this series, it was the Peacemaker and the Adebayo show, because she gets so many moments of character growth, and just so many like what a full character Adebayo is. Like he didn't miss a beat with her.
I mean, I've said it so many times. I mean, she's the grounded character, right? The one that everyone can relate to, the one tossed in the situation that has no business being in it, but she's still making the most of it and trying to help and save the world. I mean, that's a lot to put on your shoulders, right? But she's still like doing her absolute best despite all this stuff that's going on, and nobody would blame her if she just took off. You know, I mean, this isn't, you know, her boss is dead now. She did what her mother asked her to do. No one would blame her, right? Nobody would blame her, but she's still, you know, is here and sticking around. And, you know, they get a call from Economos about them being at this vet clinic, and they obviously rush over and show up, and Vigilante has 3 of the veterinarians, including a male nurse, held at gunpoint, and he says he wants to kill them all, because they saw his face in the great little bit between them about how, you know, nobody cares, the world's gonna end, we don't care about, you know, you're just a busboy, who cares? And then he gets even madder, and I mean, I thought that was a great bit.
A fantastic bit. Like one of the, like that was another great character moment for Vigilante. After everything that he's been through, after everything that he's seen, after everything that he knows now, right? Like he knows that aliens are invading the world, and these 5 or 4 or 6 people have to stop it. He's still concerned about his secret identity and these random veterinarians who have seen his face. Like what a God, I just love Vigilantes so much. I can't even put it into words. I lack the requisite words to explain how much I love Freddie Stroma's interpretation of this character, who you and I have loved since Adrian Chase was on Arrow, right?
Oh,
Who
yeah,
is
oh
a
yeah.
completely different version of Adrian Chase. Um, and for him to be holding these veterinarians at gunpoint just because he saw his face, in the middle of everything. He just saw all these white supremacists get mowed down. He knows they still have to go and kill this cow before the moment gets away from him. But nope, they saw my face. I have to try to kill them. And also, don't say anything bad about me.
And then leave it to Gunn to take that moment of humor and immediately take it into something emotional. Because Adebayo walks out to take a phone call, and as she walks down the hallway, she sees Chris with Eagly, who's obviously hurt, and he just is Chris is distraught over his friend being hurt, and he's legitimately praying to God that Eagly is okay. And he makes a bunch of crude comments about he should have left it with a woman with an ugly girl who would do anything for him while he was in prison instead of leaving him with this horrible dad. And they're he's just going on and on and on, and then finally Eagly gets up, because he's probably tired of hearing him whine, and then just gives Chris a hug. And Adebayo witnesses this, and it's kind of like an epiphany for her. Because and it literally flashes back to the scene from episode 1 where she didn't believe that he would that an eagle hugged him, which I mean, incredible emotional. Just it's ridiculous what you're watching on screen. Like it shouldn't be emotional, but it hit home real hard.
Eagly I was just telling my buddy this. Eagly is like the emotional foundation of the show, and what I just found out is that Eagly, the sound that the voice of
Bradley
Eagly,
Baker,
D. Bradley Baker, the bad
Bradley
cat.
Baker, yep. Mr. Clone himself.
What the hell? How is he like that? Is so fun, but it makes sense, right? He's the character that grounds it all. He was like the clones grounded the Clone Wars series. Eagly is grounding it, and Peacemaker. Chris is distraught. He's about to lose his friend. He may be going off about the girl he should have left the bird with. But if Eagly had died right there, I'm not sure what would have happened. I don't know where Christopher Smith's mind would have went. It might have broken, but the fact that it woke up, gave him a hug, and Adebayo happened to see it while she was on the phone with her wife, like that's the moment right there. And James Gunn is so good at making these CGI animal characters the center of the world. And I'm not sure where Eagly comes in. Like I have my predictions might be where Eagly is the one who finally takes down the cow in episode 8. But that was such a great moment, another great character moment for the freaking bird.
And that moment with the bird, lights a fire in Adebayo, who then rushes into the other room after her phone call with her wife, and the team's a little confused. They don't know what's going on. They know now everyone is up to speed with Murn and his death, and Adebayo says, "Knock that crap off. There's somebody here that can lead us." Of course, Economos goes, "Me," and she's like, "God, no, not you." And of course it's Harcourt, and she turns her and tells her like, "Hey, I trust you. Like, I know we've had our issues, but like you're the one." And everybody turns to her, with Cena looking at her, and everyone, and even Freddie Stroma's funny looking, he just gives her a weird look. And oh my god, the vet bit, best part of the episode for me. They were, as soon as this speech happened, Harcourt gives this amazing speech, camera cuts, the 3 vets are ready to go. One of them has a gun loaded. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. I have no idea. It must have just been left there. Who even knows? One of them must have set the gun down, and then they're ready to go fight. Yeah, one of my favorite parts of the series, honestly. I mean, just so funny. And this gets intercut with scenes with the as Adebayo, or as Harcourt explains the situation of the butterfly showing up to the ranch with this teleportation device that was mentioned earlier in the episode that they overheard. That they're going to try to teleport the cow from where they are in Evergreen to another location, so they're not there to take it out here and now, which who knows when they'll get another opportunity like this. So it puts a timetable on everything, a running clock, which makes things all the more serious. So what do you think about the speech and just the moment in general, talking about how high the stakes are and where we're going?
They could have very easily took that same leader speech and made it the titular character Peacemaker, right? But to give Harcourt that moment was just another testament to how strong she's been, how like focused she is on the mission and the possibilities of her future within the DCEU. Like who knows where she's going to show up next, because regardless of whether they succeed in the finale or not, Harcourt is solidified on screen in the DCEU as a badass who is going to lead the charge when the moment calls on her. She's we don't know what she's been into, but this is a crazy moment for of character development for Harcourt, because now she's suddenly in charge. Again, it begs the question why it's just 5 people fighting a cow and a bunch of an alien invasion. But regardless, if it was 5 or 500, uh, the way Harcourt has been written and the way she's been played by Jennifer Holland and the way this character has grown over these last 7 episodes, she's the only person for this job right now. And it was refreshing to see, this woman be elevated to the point from where she might have just been eye candy. She's had a couple of scenes in the first couple episodes where she's in her bra and panties, like blah blah blah, whatever. But now she is a solidified, like a hero in the DCEU who's going to lead this team. Could have been Peacemaker. They could have made Cena the hero because it's his show, right? But no, to turn that focus to her, I thought that was incredibly empowering, and I think it's something that it's going to be celebrated once the episode hits on Thursday.
I'm with you. I think, she's the right person, and I'm glad, there was no issue where Chris is now so secure in his masculinity and where he is as a person that he defers to her immediately. There was never a question of, is it me or is it her? No, it's her. She's here. She's the one most capable of leading this team, and she's going to have us in the ready position to do what it takes to win. And they get ready. They have the cool badass shot of them walking out to the car, the little truck that the veterinarian clinic has, and they get in there and they're ready to drive off. And then Adebayo and Chris have a little bit of an interaction where he's obviously upset about what happened because he knows that she was the one that left the diary, but he doesn't write her off completely. You know what I mean? Like he tells her off, obviously, and says, "Oh, I hope you never see your dumb face again." But it's clear like there's some room there, I think, for redemption by the end of this for those two.
Which is telling to how Christopher Smith has grown. Like he could have totally 100% written her off and said, "You did this to me. You tried to frame me. It's because your mom or because of Waller, blah blah blah." But he's such a caring individual. Like he genuinely is growing to care about the people around him, and I think Adebayo is patient zero for him. Like he has this bond with her from the first moment that he said her damn name wrong in the first episode. Like there's a bond between those two, and it's clear why they're the co-stars of the show. And I'm excited to see, hopefully, them both surviving the finale and more of these two, that chemistry that they have together, both Danielle Brooks and John Cena. They're so good together. And I really genuinely, I hope he can come to terms with it, because like you said, he is so, it feels like he's getting more secure, and not just his masculinity, but who he is as a person. He knows that he's beginning to care for people rather than just writing them off as collateral damage and to make way for peace. So I think Adebayo is the first person that he's going to begin to trust more and more and more, when most people might think it might be Vigilante. I think this relationship is worth holding on to, and I think he sees that as well.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. I think he knows they're more similar than he wants to let on, and I think by the end of this he's going to let it go, because they're both they both did what their parents wanted them to do, and I think both of them are moving away from that as life moves forward, and they realize they're more than just who their parents are, and so that was a great moment. And then we get to it's a smaller moment, but it's a bigger theme of the episode. Harcourt and Economos are sitting at the front of the van, and Economos, feeling more comfortable in his position now, turns the music up really loud. Harcourt isn't happy about it, but he looks over and says, "There's no wrong time to rock. There's never a rhyme to rock. There's never a wrong time to rock." And she can't help but smirk at it. He said it multiple times throughout the episode because Vigilante had mentioned it and Peacemaker had mentioned it. There's never a wrong time to rock. So she smirks, and they're ready to go off and fight this battle. And then we cut to the underground, the ranch, and we see for the first time the cow. And boy, it is terrifying. It's like a giant worm thing. Well, I guess it's a giant butterfly essentially, right? I mean, it's kind of got the eyes and just kind of the naked, but it looks naked. It looks. I mean, it looks horrid. It looks horrid. It looks horrid. Um, and they're just sucking all the stuff out of it. And I mean, you look at it, right? And you look at it, and you're like, how are they going to take this thing down? It's massive. It's clearly more dense than it appears, and it's. I mean, this is not going to be an easy task.
They mentioned the kaijus and the Suicide Squad when they fought Project Starfish. Like Economos is just scratching these kaijus off because that is a huge thing that they're gonna have to deal with, and like they don't have Ratcatcher 2 to take down.
Definitely not.
They don't have Harley Quinn. They just got no one. No one in this group has superpowers. Like, what happens next? I'm so genuinely excited to see what happens next in this finale, and I'm glad that they can have the sole focus on this threat of an alien invasion without having to mix in the subplot of Auggie and the white supremacists. That feels like it's over.
Yeah,
it's
right.
done
It's
with.
Resolved. He's moved on. They're ready to focus in on the mission. I feel like most, if all not, most of the beef is all put behind them, or it will be put behind them shortly. After they get this done. I mean, everyone's kind of laser focused right now, going into this finale. I would say so. I mean, this is a threat unlike anything they've ever faced. I mean, Peacemaker knows a little bit about something like this, but he didn't really have to deal with that fight at the end of the Suicide Squad. He wasn't in that interaction because he had been shot. So he's gonna be tested here as well, just like everyone else will, and they all just have some guns in a dream, right? So
I do want to call back to the first episode where he said, "Am I fighting a Mothra?"
Oh, yeah. Oh, I think 100%. I think 100% he's going to bring back the fact that he is in fact fighting a giant Mothra.
Fighting a Mothra, dude. Good luck.
Yeah, because they're gonna have their hands full, including all these rabid, butterflies that are gonna be coming after them. And I guess Judo Master potentially, right?
And the butterflies retain the skills too, right? So like they have, what's the guy's name?
Locks.
Locke, yeah, he's clearly a mass murderer.
Right.
All these police officers,
all these trained police officers.
Yep.
There's some
all
white
these criminals,
right? Some white supremacists in there. I mean, they have a scary group of people.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't think that Gunn is going to go the way as like a lot of these MCU Disney Plus shows have gone, where they bring in like cameos. I think it's going to be this team that brings down the villains, or don't bring down the team villains. We know that Gunn isn't afraid to kill people. He's not afraid to kill his man.
Oh, not at all. I think if we get any cameos, it'll be in an epilogue type thing. Maybe Viola Davis, as we mentioned earlier, popping back up, and maybe Adebayo gets to tell her off, or at least just say that she's out or whatever she's going to tell her. And then potentially we got Harcourt set up for some bigger things in the universe. Rumors claim, and obviously where Peacemaker goes from here, potentially season 2. So I mean, I'm sure we'll get some. Not everything will be final. I don't think this is going to be wrapped up with a nice bow.
But I do think that by the end of the day, this team is going to come together as one. It's about 100%. The found family, Jackson. It's about the found family.
Always is, isn't it? I mean, that's what Gunn loves to do. So I guess that wraps it up for this week's discussion. Any final thoughts, Christian?
Can't wait for episode 8. And I hope to see. I hope these rumors are true. These rumors of Harcourt's future in the DCEU, and we get to see John Cena face a familiar foe.
I'm with you. I don't know how the power balance would go, but hey, I mean, I'd like to see the fight. We didn't get to see it in Fast and Furious, and you know who I'd love to blame for that, but we'll have to. Yeah, it's about drive, not about driving. It's about drive. Yeah, just excited for episode 8. We'll have to see how everything wraps up. I'm very excited. This is going to be the first episode we haven't seen early in a while. So
I'm thrilled.
Excited to just react along with everybody else and get that final episode up next week. So appreciate you guys listening, and everyone who's listened this far. Christian, where can they find you on social media?
I'm at KyloCool630. Follow Full Circle Cinema.
Please do check out all our stuff. Subscribe to this page and check out our website. You can find me at JacksonHayes67, and hopefully Ernesto's putting that back next week for the final episode, and we'll hopefully all be back. Very much missed you. Don't take the extensive notes. I tried my best. So yeah, we'll catch you guys next week.